You are listening to Brayford Radio. This recording was originally broadcast on the 3rd of November 2016. For copyright reasons, this audio has been edited to remove any music being played during the show. We hope you enjoy the recording of Formula Tom, with me Tom Cairns, Harry Parker, Callum Hartley and Jack Fisher. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Formula Tom on Brayford Radio. Joining me tonight is Callum Hartley, Harry Parker and Jack Fisher. On tonight's show we'll be discussing together about the race in Mexico last weekend, how that has affected the situation for the title race with only 2 rounds to go, along with the infamous radio rants from last weekend, as well as the latest confirmed drives for next year. Just before we quickly go on to the Mexican review, Lance Stroll got the drive for Williams now.
Yeah, interested to see how he does, because obviously he had a very good season in GP3. What's GP3?
It was a European Formula 3 that he was
14 wins, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 14 wins. So he's obviously got calibre, and he does bring a substantial amount of money with him, but I don't think the money's the reason he's got the drive.
Alright. I was just going to say, because if you want to be involved in the show via Twitter, sending in your tweets at Brayford Radio, or you can send us messages or posts via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio. Jack, what do you make of the move then for Lance Stroll? Because he won the championship by about 189 points or something like from his nearest rival at the age of 17. So what does he have to deliver now that he's going to be in F1 next year?
It was very impressive that he was able to win by such a margin, but it'll be interesting whether he can bring that skill into a full-on F1 car, because we saw the success that Verstappen's had. Could he replicate that?
Mm-hmm. And Callum, your say on the move?
Lance Stroll's obviously a promising driver, youngest driver on the paddock next year. 18 years old, and he's got a lot to live up to, because he's the first Canadian since Jacques Villeneuve.
Mm-hmm.
And the Canadian fans will be wanting to see another world champion, and in Lance Stroll in a competitive car, the Williams. And he's got a good teammate to compare with for Bottas. So I think he'll do fine in there. I think he'll do fine.
Yeah, because when me, Jack, Martin and Kathy did I can't remember who it was who was with me when we made our driver predictions for next year. We I think you were there, weren't you? Yeah, you were there, Jack was there, and Kathy was there as well. Because I said Lance Stroll and Valtteri Bottas, but we came together in agreement saying Alex Lynn and Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
But I was right, so yeah, that's why you should trust in me.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Predictions, yeah. Well, let's go back to talk about what we're going to be mainly talking about is the Mexican Grand Prix from last weekend. Back-to-back wins for Hamilton, 2 wins in a week. Very much what he needed, but he needed Rosberg to finish lower down, really, didn't he?
Yeah, he very much did. With the gap, what it is now, he does have to finish third both races, doesn't he, Rosberg, for Hamilton to win.
Or if Rosberg finishes 4th in one of them. So, Jack, you're saying on the result?
I think it's good to see that he's got some kind of form back and his car's being reliable, but he does need Rosberg to finish lower down to have a better chance.
Callum, what chances does Lewis Hamilton have now with that win?
He's obviously got a chance now. I think it's Rosberg's to lose still. 50 points to go, and 19 behind. So he kind of needs Rosberg to finish at least 3rd or 4th in a race to have a chance. But he's applying pressure to Rosberg. He's an experienced driver, has been there before. Rosberg's never been in a situation before leading the championship into the last 2 races. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out in the end.
Looking at further down the order, what about the fights between the Ferraris and the Red Bulls? I mean, that's what made the highlight from Mexico, really, didn't it?
Yeah, at first it looked like the Ferraris had done it wrong, leaving Vettel out for so long, but obviously it came back at the end of the race, and obviously we all know what happened at the end of the race. It was interesting about how long it took for Ricciardo to get the podium as well.
But having said that, I think Vettel did he stayed out on, was it at least 30 laps? At least 30 laps on the soft tyre, which put him on the medium, which played into his advantage later on. Ricciardo came in for a third set of tyres. and Verstappen only went out on the one stop. That really sort of backfired for Verstappen, though, really, didn't it?
You could tell at the end of the race
Yeah,
that he was really struggling. Even though Vettel did accuse him of backing him up into Ricciardo, which obviously caused the issue at the end, I do think Verstappen just didn't have the pace with the tyre deg. Yeah, the tyre deg just messed him up.
Yeah, and his team, when the incident happened, Verstappen's team told him to give Vettel the place, but he obviously didn't want to, because if he knew if Vettel got past him, he would just drive away from him, so he had no chance. So that's why he caused the incident.
Yeah, I mean, because I felt that it was the right penalty for Verstappen, but the fact that he got a 5-second penalty for gaining an advantage by going off the track, and for Vettel to get a 10-second penalty for how the stewards judged his manoeuvre whilst defending Ricciardo at turn 4. I mean, do you see the consistency within the stewards now with the fact they gave a 5-second penalty in the circumstances to Verstappen in comparison to how Vettel got his 10 seconds?
I think the difficulty is his was under a new rule. It was the Verstappen rule that they'd created, so there may be a bit of teething problems with the rule, but I think it was a bit harsh on Vettel's thing, but I think he got a bit distracted by complaining through the radio than concentrating on driving.
Because the fact that Verstappen didn't allow Vettel through straight away, that sort of played into Ricciardo's advantage to try and overtake Vettel in the closing stages. But why Verstappen didn't let Vettel through, which is understandable. Do you think you should have let him through? Do you think you should have let him through and then perhaps have a go at maybe trying to overtake Vettel in closing stages, or do you think he did the right thing just to stay ahead of him?
I don't think he'd have got near Vettel. I think there would have been team orders in place and Ricciardo would have gone past Verstappen because he wasn't quick enough for Verstappen at that point. The tyre deg was setting in, Vettel was getting very, very close, and that was realistically the opportunity for Vettel to pass. If Vettel had passed, I don't think Verstappen gets back.
Yeah.
It was definitely risky what Verstappen did, slowing down, but it slowed Vettel down and it allowed Verstappen it pulled him away.
Got the team podium.
Playing the tactics game. Even though the team said on the radio straight after he cut the corner, he probably did the right thing not to let him through straight away after the team told him to, because he was helping Ricciardo, so it was pretty much damage limitation, really, wasn't it, in terms of Ricciardo getting the podium, not Vettel.
But did he actually mean for Ricciardo to catch up, or was Verstappen just being stubborn? Because the stewards hadn't awarded anything at this point, so he didn't need to do anything. He could have just tried to stay in front for the entire race. It did play into Red Bull's hands, but did Verstappen actually mean it? Is what I'm trying to suggest.
He was in his right to stay in front because the stewards, although his team told him to, the stewards never gave the order for him to give it back. Yeah, there's a bit of iffiness about...
You do expect it. It's normal driver etiquette.
Driver etiquette, slowing down, backing him up to Ricciardo, but it was perfectly legal.
Just quickly go through the results then. Lewis Hamilton took his 51st race victory, equalling Alain Prost. So only Michael Schumacher has scored more race wins than Lewis Hamilton. Nico Rosberg following Hamilton home in second place to score Mercedes' first back-to-back 1-2 of the season, their 6th in all. Daniel Ricciardo finishing third for Red Bull despite the penalties that Verstappen and Vettel got. Verstappen coming out 4th, Vettel in 5th, Raikkonen finishing down in 6th, Hülkenberg the best of the rest really in 7th, with Bottas 8th, Massa 9th and Sergio Perez 10th. So it's the third time in 6 races that the current top 5 constructors only scored points, so it's just the top 5 teams that scored points. Lower down the order, Ericsson in 11th for Sauber, so just missing out on Sauber's first points of the year, which would have taken them ahead of Manor in the constructors. Button finishing 12th for McLaren, ahead of his teammate Alonso in 13th. Jolyon Palmer, another good effort from him, finishing 14th. Next, Nasser in the second Sauber in 15th. Sainz, Magnussen, Kvyat, Gutierrez, Grosjean and Ocon completing the finishes, with Pascal Wehrlein the only retiree who crashed into Ericsson on the first lap. The fastest pit stop award went to Williams, again for a time of 2.06 seconds. The fastest lap went to Daniel Ricciardo, and for the second time this year, Sebastian Vettel was given the Driver of the Day award. Okay, so not Max Verstappen. As looking at the championship standings now, Nico Rosberg has a 19-point lead over Lewis Hamilton with 2 races left. So if he was to win in Brazil, regardless of where Lewis Hamilton finishes, Nico Rosberg will be world champion for the first time. Daniel Ricciardo secures 3rd place now in the Drivers' Championship with 242. He's got a 55-point lead over Sebastian Vettel, with Raikkonen and Verstappen closely behind on 178 and 177. Then it's Perez in 7th with 85, along with Bottas with 85 as well. Then it's Hulkenberg with 60 and Alonso in 10th with 52. Looking at the championship now, this is Rosberg's big opportunity now.
Yeah.
If he goes for it and gets that race win, it's all over. He's world champion.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say he's deserved it, really. I know Hamilton's had some issues this year with his starts and his reliability, but Rosberg's just been consistent throughout the whole year. He's done his job, got the race victories, which, sure, the Mercedes is the quickest car, but it still involves you not going out and making a mistake.
No.
So I think he will deserve it if he wins it.
I just hope it goes down to the last race.
I think the majority
It
of people
makes
want
it a dead rubber at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like,
The thing is, if Hamilton was to win the race in Brazil, Rosberg finished 7th, which is a 19 points difference between finishing and winning and finishing 7th. It's a dead heat going into the last race, which is what.
That'd be nice, but there'd have to be some serious issues for Rosberg's car for him to finish 7th.
Yeah, I think Rosberg's confidence has been knocked though these past 2
I think
races.
he's coasting. I think he's doing what, obviously Hamilton had wrapped up the title this time last year, but I think he's doing what Hamilton did last year and just coast the last few races.
He's playing percentages.
He's just keeping himself in second, making sure he ticks over and make sure he just gets.
What he needs to do is he needs to get either first or second on the grid, and then he needs to just basically get a good start and sit there in second, because he'll just pull away naturally from the other cars.
Well, I think if I was Rosberg, yes, try and stay in the top 2, but also stay out of DRS range from the pack behind, because the likes of Red Bull and Ferrari could be on Rosberg's tail.
And he needs to avoid a collision with Hamilton at the start, in case if he doesn't get a collision, then that's he's nearly there, isn't he? Pretty much.
Recently, they've seemed a lot better with each other. Actually,
they spoke at Mexico.
They've been talking a bit, and I think
Hamilton's.
It's not giving up. It's just kind of accepted.
Yeah.
I think a bit that he might be not win this world championship, and Hamilton's got 3 in the bag already. So
may as well let Rosberg
have one. I'll come back next year and we'll see how it is again next year.
Now that Lewis has actually got his starts sorted as well, if only it had been earlier in the year, we probably could have had a closer race. Yeah, just going through the remaining of the standings. Massa in 11th, 1 point behind Alonso with 51 points. And it's Sainz in 12th with 38. Then it's Grosjean with 29. Kvyat 25, Button in 15th with 21, then it's Magnussen with 7, Palmer, Verlaine and Van Dorn all with 1, leaving only Gutierrez, Merrickson, Nasser, Harriento and Ocon, so 5 drivers still yet to score. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes had already clinched the championship, they're on 679 points. Red Bull are in second with 427, then it's Ferrari in third with 365, so it's a 62-point gap now between them and Ferrari, so Red Bull very much look like they're going to finish in second. Force India in 4th with 145, then it's Williams in 5th with 136, McLaren in 6th with 74, then it's Toro Rosso with 55 in 7th with Haas 29, Renault 8 in 9th, then it's Manor with 1, Sauber still the only team, but they very nearly did it in Mexico, so they've got 2 more chances to see if they can overtake Manor in the Constructors. For you folks to show your thoughts from the Mexican Grand Prix or anything that's happened in the F1 news lately, do please tweet in at Brayford Radio, or you can send us a message or post via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio. And here is your first question of the evening, and it is Sergio Perez scored his first podium in F1 at which race? Okay, so Sergio Perez got his first podium in F1 at which race? The answer will be given to you later after Daft Punk's One More Time. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was One More Time by Daft Punk. The question we asked before we left was where did Sergio Perez score his first F1 podium? Okay, guys, did you have any guesses? I think it's China.
Okay.
I think it was Malaysia, his first podium.
And I think Monaco.
You think Monaco? Do you know which year?
2013? 14.
2011?
2011. I can tell you the answer is Malaysia 2012. Malaysia 2012.
Was Malaysia
Yeah, because Sergio Perez was driving for Sauber at the time. He was closing in on Fernando Alonso until he went wide.
You remember that?
And he ended up finishing second in the end, which is a fantastic result for Sauber. I'm pretty sure nowadays they would take a second place on any day of the week.
Yeah.
We've actually got some messages in from a range of people. One saying from Andy Milo saying, "Hi Tom, great show. Just wondered if you think that Lewis Hamilton's lifestyle has contributed to him throwing away this year's world title."
I don't think it has, but I do think what he's doing in terms of going on all the talk shows and everything is good for the sport. So it introduces it to a new set of fans, potentially. But it could have definitely had an impact. I mean, it seemed like the press conference rolled in Suzuka.
There's all that Snapchatting. I just think he didn't have his head that week. I mean, I think his engine blew the week before.
Yeah.
And then that was still playing in his mind, and he thought probably the world was against him. So he kind of was a lazy attitude, Snapchatting everyone, not being professional. But overall, I don't think it has, because he's had this lifestyle for God knows how many years.
Yeah,
too many.
He's been at it long enough to know what
apart from
to do.
Vettel, he's won the most world championships on the grid. So
yeah, he's been at
He's
it
doing
long
something
enough.
right.
Another one from Mum saying, "Do you think Massa would be a good addition to the Renault team as he's on sign for next season? Do you think he would bring experience to a young driver team?" Well, to answer straight away, Felipe Massa is retiring at the end of the season. I don't know if she's getting mixed up with Felipe Massa or Felipe Nasser, who is currently driving for Sauber. But let's say Nasser, just in case she's mistaken. Do you see Nasser driving at the Renault team?
I think he's a good driver. He was linked to Williams, wasn't he?
Well, he was Williams' test driver the year before he joined Sauber.
So I remember reading something about them choosing Stroll instead this year. But I think he could be a good driver for him.
Okay. Jack?
I think he has the quality, but I don't think they would. I think they're going to be pushing too higher up the
They're trying
grade.
to get good drivers.
They want more high caliber. Nothing against Felipe Nasr, but I think they're going to be pushing a lot higher up the table.
For me, with the signing of Hulkenberg, they're showing a clear
state of mind.
Yeah.
And a clear intent to go ahead and push for potentially podium finishes. Probably not could be next year, we don't know.
Callum, you'll say on it?
Well, I think Felipe Nasr needs to get into a better car. I mean, Sauber's got 0 points this season. He's got 0 points. He needs to get into a better car to give himself more of a chance. I mean, he's had some good races where he's finished like 11th, 12th, 13th. I think he's a good driver. He just needs that chance, I think.
He probably needs like another race where like not so many drivers running, and he finished 5th on his debut in Australia last year. So, anyway, we want to move on actually about radio rants. Okay, now Mexico is very much the prime example, wasn't it? Because even though Vettel complained about Verstappen, we all know what happened when he threw his abuse at.
Toys out.
Yeah. Not very. I mean, it's not something they want to hear. Although it is quite an entertainment for some of those fans, because it's a rarity to some of to those watching.
It's not something you hear very often. You hear that drivers complain to their teams all the time, but something of that language and that anger is not something you hear very often.
No, because I mean, drivers abusing other drivers is something that you see ever so often. But for a driver to abuse a steward or race director, which Sebastian Vettel did, I just think that's. I mean, the problem is there's so much adrenaline pumped into the driver's body whilst they're out there, and all of us will think, well, he shouldn't have done it. Well, I'm sure he regrets it now, but once he's in that seat and he's battling for position, it's a different.
I'm going to say it's a combination of things, because obviously he struggled this year. Vettel has. There's been no hard in it. He's been very frustrated at times this year.
Definitely.
And he saw the chance of getting on the podium, which he probably could have got if Verstappen had got the penalty earlier. might have, if they'd have said they were investigating straight away, Verstappen might have been inclined to switch it back. But he saw that, and then obviously the stewards didn't take action until after the race, and his frustration just boiled over for him. It's not been a good year for him, but it's starting to look better recently.
Yeah.
He is fourth now.
Yeah. Looking at Charlie Whiting, who's been involved in the sport as a race steward for so many years, I don't think he's quite been taking stuff like that from any driver, regardless of the calibre of the drivers. Even if they have the most inexperienced drivers, and the inexperienced drivers could perhaps do something that no other driver has done or hardly done, but Sebastian Vettel on Tuesday didn't receive any form of penalty due to it, and I think he's a very lucky man, to be perfectly honest.
I think how long he's been in the sport, I think it, no matter the adrenaline's pumping, I think it shows a lack of respect. He really, I understand going to talk to him afterwards and say your problems, but you shouldn't speak like that about someone who's been with the sport that long and is that integral to the sport.
The thing is, he's a 4-time world champion. He's an example for everyone on the grid. He should know better.
He should know better.
And I'm very, very surprised he'd not receive any sanctions or fines.
I mean, we've seen some entertaining radio messages, not necessarily abuse towards stewards, but like Kimi Raikkonen's Abu Dhabi 2012 radio run. You just have to laugh, really, don't you?
It's always Raikkonen.
That's Kimi Raikkonen.
He only ever abuses drivers or his team, or he's silent. As we said earlier, didn't we?
He never talks to press. He doesn't like doing interviews. But if someone's speaking to him on the radio, he will tell them to shut up.
Yeah. Because I remember back in Silverstone in 2008 where he was basically getting himself ready for the race, and like one of the photographers was just sort of getting in his way, and he pushed the photographer out of the way, which is understandable because he needs to get himself ready.
That's understandable. Sometimes photographers just get in the way, and the drivers must just get sick of them.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to focus and they're in the way. They're everywhere.
I mean, with all these radio messages that are commissioned, why did the Formula 1 management decide to allow the radio message to be heard on air anyway? Is it because of, trying to make it something to talk about majorly so that people can discuss it?
I think it's general the race. I mean, some points in the race there was a bit of a flat lining where nothing was really happening. Everyone was in position, and then this happened, and then it's interesting because I don't think that every radio message is broadcast out, and a lot of the radio messages from the drivers which have explicit language in will not get broadcast. I don't know why.
The sense of the explicit language ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they have to. I mean, the Formula 1 management have to be careful what they broadcast because anybody can be watching Formula 1 because there's no age restriction to watching Formula 1.
And it's not like it's late. It's not like that one was late at night. It was
a nice evening.
It was nice evening. It was middle of the evening. Anyone could have seen it.
Yeah.
But I think they definitely put it in there to
sensationalism,
spice up the end of the race, because the middle of the race had been a bit stale, dry, and it was. So they saw this fight was happening. They saw what was happening, and they wanted to spice up, add fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I've got a tweet in from @CansJS, and he's saying, I think Rosberg has shown great character and shown F1 is not all about pussycat dolls and earrings. Focus is on driving. What would you say?
I'm gonna agree with the character element because he has turned up the shirt, done his job, week in, week out. So maybe it is because Lewis Hamilton has too many distractions, even though I've already argued against that. But
But even though Nico Rosberg is a dad, because he has got a daughter, I think, hasn't he? He'll still be able to maintain his lifestyle and also maintaining his composure within the F1 as well. So he's very much controlled himself over the season like any other season, because that's why he's been far more consistent this year than he was in previous years.
Yeah, well, he's had a few collisions with Hamilton early on in the season, but from midway through the season, he's been kind of calmer. He's kept himself I think after the summer break it helped because he went away. Yeah. Hamilton was leading the championship. He came back and won 3 or 4 races on the bounce, and then he was in a good place again. I think he just needed to kind of get his head right. He did, and I think this helps in his favour, I think.
If you have any thoughts on anything that's happened in the F1 news lately, or what's happened in Mexico, or anything to do with the radio rants, please do tweet in at Brayford Radio, or send us a Facebook message or post on the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio. Fernando, here's your second question of the evening, which is, who won the last Mexican Grand Prix in 1992 before the circuit's exile from the calendar until 2015? Okay, who won the last Mexican Grand Prix in 1992 before the circuit's exile from the calendar until 2015? The answer will be given to you after Swings and Water Slides by Fire the Beach. Following the song, there will be a minute silence to pay respects to the band itself after their tragic car accident in Sweden back in February. So it's sad times, for a band like that to go. This is Tom Ken's on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Swings and Water Slides by Via the Beach. If you just tuned in and wondering why nothing was being heard on air, it's because we've just paid a minute silence to the band of Via the Beach, who sadly passed away earlier this year in February. So it was a really, really sad loss to lose an alternative rock band like them. So our wishes and thoughts go to their families and friends out there. The question we asked before we left was who won the last Mexican Grand Prix in 1992 before the circuit's exile from the calendar until 2015? Guys, did you have any guesses?
I'm probably good. Damon Hill, maybe?
I've got no idea.
No idea? Harry?
No idea either.
No idea. My dad went for Villeneuve, so I don't know whether he meant Gilles or Jacques Villeneuve. I could tell you the answer is Nigel Mansell. So if you got Nigel Mansell, very, very well done indeed. Is that time in the show, guys, where we need to talk about... Exactly. So in the Badger GP results, I have to say, I thought I was going to win it. I thought I was going to win that round. You know when we were discussing on Sunday about the
yes,
predictions?
we were, because, but then you had the...
Verstappen, because I put Verstappen to finish third, you see. So had he not cut the corner at turn one, that I would have got, perhaps, I think it would have been 25 points on him. So I would have won that round, which would have helped me win that one, because I've only won one race this year in Austria. Did you predict who would get top three?
I think when we were before, because we watched the race together.
Yeah, we did.
I'm pretty certain I did go with it how it came out, with Hamilton, Rosberg, Ricciardo. Can't remember exactly, but I know I had those three drivers in it and I had Hamilton to win. I can't remember which way around I had Ricciardo and Rosberg.
And Jack, sorry, I was going to call you Colin then, but I was there. Jack, did you predict who would be in the top three that weekend?
I had Hamilton and Rosberg definitely first, second, and I think I went with a Ferrari driver.
You went for Vettel.
I thought I did because of their because they did well in practice, but it was close.
Yeah.
He was on the podium.
So you said did you say Hamilton or Rosberg to win?
Hamilton.
Hamilton, Rosberg, Vettel. So
Yeah.
I went Hamilton, Rosberg, Verstappen, which I nearly got, which would have been temporary for about 2 minutes. You went for Vettel, which was temporary for about 4 hours, and I don't know who it was that I think if you went for Hamilton, Rosberg, Ricciardo.
Which I can't remember which way around it is, so I can't claim it because I can't 100% remember.
You probably would have been saying, I said Hamilton, Rosberg, and Ricciardo, even though you.
I can't 100% remember it, so I can't claim it.
So
unfortunately.
Callum, did you predict the top three? Did you predict?
Well, fancied Hamilton and Rosberg obviously to finish the top two. I probably would have gone for Verstappen, but obviously that wasn't to be with the changing of positions at the end. But that would have been my top three, definitely.
Just looking at the results from Mexico, Mark's Mercedes GP won for the 6th time this year. He's got 166 points. Delta F1 was second with 154, and it was Meekans racing with 150, the same as Honey Badger GP. Team Jedi was 5th with 132. Team Martin was 6th with 112, and Red Bull Dog GP was 7th with 103. How that affects the standings? Well, Mark's Mercedes GP has virtually won this year's inaugural Formula Tom Badger GP title. He's now got a 215 point lead. He's on 2,394. Ken's racing in second place. That's me with 2,179. And then it's Team Jedi in third with 2,168 points. So it's an 11-point gap between me and him. Delta F1 is fourth with 2,150. Team Martin fifth, 2,133. The Three Badgers GP in sixth with 1,968. And Red Bull Dog GP in seventh with 1,794. Looking at second to fifth, because before the weekend it was a 40-point gap between second and fifth. Now it is a 46-point gap. But with that point sell that I got last time out, along with what Delta F1 got, that has brought us right back into play. I mean, I do hope we get second, but I'd like to win the last two races because I've only won 1-1. Jack, did you say who you have on your pit wall about your 3 drivers and 3 teams, considering the budget that you would have? Because it's like a £75 million budget, but like Hamilton and Rosberg, I think it's like 24 million. And like the likes of Pascal Wehrlein or S1 Ocon, if you went for them, it's like 3 or 4 million. So like any drivers like in the middle is sort of 11 or 12 million pound range. As well as the drivers, you get teams. So if you went for like Mercedes, it'd be like 24 million or something like, or maybe 30 million. And like Haas, because they're the newest team this year, it's 3 million. So if you were to choose 3 drivers and 3 teams for your pit walls, who would you choose?
I'd have definitely chosen Williams because they've had some dodgy races, but they've been kind of consistent. Who else would I picked?
Would you pick maybe Force India or Red Bull? I can imagine you would choose.
I'd have picked Red Bull. I think Red Bull, Williams, and maybe one of the lower down teams, like maybe Haas. I'd probably chosen Haas, just see how new season, you never know what could have happened. And then drivers, I'd have chosen Ricciardo.
Okay.
Who else would I have chosen?
Would you have chosen Hamilton?
Probably not,
because of the budget.
Yeah, I'd have chosen 3 mid. Probably Ricciardo, Bottas, and then
maybe Alonso.
Yeah.
Or Verstappen, because Verstappen started the season with Toro Rosso. So because
it could have been Verstappen or Button probably.
Oh, okay. Callum, this is probably a warm up for you for next season when you join the league. Who would you choose if you had to go in terms of this year's pecking order? What would you have chosen considering the budget?
Well, I'm one of the type of people who would go for the top driver. So it'd be either Rosberg or Hamilton. But then I'd have to look for 2 drivers who obviously wouldn't be near the top. I'd probably go for like Massa, the Williams, because he's a consistent driver. Then I'd probably go for one of the young guns. So I would have gone for Verstappen at the start of the season. I was impressed with him last season, and this season obviously he's done well this season. So I'd have probably gone for Hamilton, Verstappen and Massa probably.
Whilst we've been showing our the results from the weekend's race in Mexico, the Badger GP results, we'd like you to have your say on things going into the final few parts of the season. In order to do that, you need to send in your tweets at Brayford Radio, or you can send us the Facebook messages via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio, or you can send us a post, whichever. And at the same time, this is your final question of the evening, and the question is, which circuit on this year's calendar is the second highest above sea level to Mexico? Okay, which circuit on this year's calendar is the second highest above sea level to Mexico? Okay, the answer will be given to you after the enemies. Be somebody. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Be Somebody by the Enemy. The question we asked before we left was which circuit on this year's calendar is the second highest above sea level to Mexico? Okay. Guys, do you have any guesses to that?
I think it's the Red Bull Ring.
You think it's the Red Bull Ring?
Yeah, I think it's the Red Bull Ring in Austria as well.
I think it's Spa or Austria.
You think it's Spa or Austria? I can tell you the answer is Austria, because Mexico is 2,229 metres above sea level. Austria, the Red Bull Ring, is 784.9 metres above sea level.
Big difference.
So it's quite a big distance. That's almost 3 times difference between Austria and Mexico, in fact. So if you said the Red Bull Ring in Austria, very well done. Let's go on to the latest confirmed driver lineups. On the eve of the US Grand Prix, Toro Rosso confirmed Kvyat would be remaining with the team next year alongside Carlos Sainz. Were you surprised when you found out the news?
I was, but at the same time, I could see why they've kept him. Because obviously this year, Kvyat can just kind of throw away. It's been a bad year for him. Obviously, we're getting demoted from Red Bull.
I think he got better, but he did calm down a lot when he joined Toro Rosso.
Yeah,
he realised his mistake. He calmed down. Still wasn't the best season in the world, but he calmed down, and I think it has taught him a lesson.
Do you not think that Verstappen's doing something similar to Kvyat though at the moment, with like his aggressive moves? I'm just suggesting that maybe, even though Verstappen's had better results, maybe they took Kvyat out too soon of the Red Bull.
I think Verstappen's been lucky.
I was surprised Kvyat stayed at Toro Rosso and they signed him up, because I think Carlos Sainz will probably get the next big drive.
I think he will be the next.
Kvyat, obviously not doing well at Red Bull, might harm his long-term career, because he's obviously been there and he's failed and he's come back. So a team's going to take the chance on him again. Are they going to give him a second chance? I don't know.
Because I'm very sure Kvyat would have been tight-lipped on the matter, because he wasn't. Pierre Gasly was very much waiting in the wings, considering how well he was doing in GP2. This is what Kvyat had to say. He said to Sky Sports, "Great news. I'd like to thank Red Bull, Dr. Marco, and all the team for their support and the faith they have shown me since I returned to the team earlier this year. I'm very happy to stay with a team that feels like home to me. I'm really looking forward to continuing the hard work together in 2017. And I'm really aiming high." Well, that sounds very much like a relief, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like he didn't think he was going to be in F1 next year.
Yeah, I think he was preparing not to be. With obviously Gasly being lined up, he didn't get it. And if Kvyat didn't get the seat, what team would have took him?
I'm not sure any would have.
Yeah,
well, Pierre Gasly, because he's part of the Red Bull. Because he's part of the Red Bull Young Drivers program. So I don't. If Red Bull and Toro Rosso weren't going to nurture him, I don't know really who else would.
Because Red Bull, Toro Rosso, the nurturing team, really, aren't they? In F1,
bring everybody through.
Yeah, they let him have a taste in F1 before going to the big team.
They've brought through Vettel, who's now won 4 World Championships. Verstappen is going to be a future world champion, in my opinion. Sainz, who I think is going to. I think Ferrari might be looking at him maybe after Raikkonen retires.
I really rate Sainz. I thought when they brought Verstappen up that Sainz could have potentially been there because he was more consistent.
I think it's either going to be Sainz or Bottas for Ferrari. I think
Sainz for me.
Yeah,
I think Sainz.
Yeah, just as what Franz Tost, who is the team boss of the Toro Rosso team, says that Kvyat has responded to the challenge to deliver his best performances again. In recent races, it has been clear that Daniel has been back on top form. I always told him that his future with us was in his hands, and he has stepped up to the mark and delivered the sort of performances that have ensured his 2017 seat in the STR12. We now have a very talented and young and strong driver pairing to tackle a season in which we expect to be very competitive. Kvyat's new deal means GP2 title challenger Pierre Gasly, who we've mentioned, the next driver in line for promotion in Red Bull's junior program, set to miss out on an F1 seat next year. So just going on from Kvyat, a lot more recent, in fact as late as 11 a.m. this morning, the confirmation of Lance Stroll replacing Felipe Massa at the Williams team next year to race alongside Valtteri Bottas. We have faith in this driver. New Canadian talent.
Yes. He very much dominated his division. So he's got the talent. Obviously he's a young driver again, so I'm I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few mistakes in his rookie year, because you normally do. But I think he'd be a good driver.
It'd be interesting to see if he's as forceful as Verstappen is in his driving.
Yeah.
Like he always Verstappen never gives in to
Anything.
He reminds me of like a young Hamilton 2008 when he was
very
just.
much so.
He was basically going into corners where he couldn't have gone, into spaces where he couldn't, but 90% of the time he got it right and it paid off for him and got the place. So I'm interested to see what his driver style is, because Button's got kind of a smooth drive. Alonso's got a tactical. Alonso's quite tactical in his driving, so he knows, because he's got experience, he'll know where to overtake. So it'll be interesting to see how his style is, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Jack, your view on the move?
I'm worried. I don't want new drivers. I'd love to see new drivers in the sport. It's good to see new drivers, young ones, but I'm worried that it's going to be a Verstappen, but not as lucky. Because Verstappen's had luck over this season, really. Last season he was good, but this season I feel he's had some luck in some situations.
Getting the promotion during the season.
Yeah, and
I thought that should be Carlos Sainz.
The fights he had with the two Ferraris, he pushed the boundaries, and obviously the stewards realised that maybe he's pushing them too far, and they changed the rules. And I'm hoping that Stroll isn't like that, and he's going to come up, show maturity that is unusual for young drivers, and be a strong force.
And just going a little bit further on the Stroll move, it's saying the Canadian youngster, son of a billionaire father, who will become the second youngest driver in F1 history when he debuts next March. And his signing comes after an emphatic European Formula 3 Series win. I think he won the championship by something like 189 points from his nearest rival, which is something like 7.5 race wins.
It's ridiculous.
I know, for a 17-year-old as well.
Yeah.
He celebrated his 18th birthday last Saturday
Does
as
he
well.
actually have a driver's licence?
No, he does not.
He doesn't have one either.
Well, I think he doesn't have a driver's license, but he has a super license.
obviously.
Yeah.
So he could easily get a driver's
Yeah,
licence.
Max Verstappen didn't get his driver's license until after he started F1.
Yeah.
I know.
It was this year,
I remember seeing the story. He did. It was quite funny.
He was racing F1, but he couldn't drive a car on the road.
Just giving him a further on Stroll. Stroll who replaced Felipe Massa, who announced in September's Italian Grand Prix that he would be retiring from Formula 1 at the end of the current campaign, and he's thought to be beaten off competition from Sauber's Felipe Nasr to take the Brazilian seat. Deputy team principal Claire Williams described the lineup as a new chapter in Williams' history as she presented Stroll and Bottas to the assembled media. She came out saying to Sky Sports, saying, "We made this decision a long time ago. It's one we are really, really excited about." Williams went on to give a glowing endorsement of her new driver, adding, "He is so capable, he's extremely intelligent, and he puts the work in. To achieve what he has achieved in such a short space of time, I have total confidence he'll get in the car and deliver." Well, I think in terms of what he's achieved in European Formula 3, I think he has to deliver, especially in a top team like Williams.
Yeah.
Callum?
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, Williams haven't had a good a season as the season before, when they finished second or third behind Mercedes. But I think he has to deliver. They've got the best pit crew there. They've got a good manager as well in Claire. I think she knows what she's doing, taking over from her father. So I think he'll live up to it, and I think he'll do a good job. Yeah,
and we're running short on time, guys. We'll just quickly go over to Sarah. I mean, Callum just nearly just submarines down his seat actually. Just quickly go on to Sarah because they haven't announced any drivers yet for next year, but they've confirmed they'll be using year-old Ferrari engines in 2017. Toro Rosso used 2015 Ferrari power units this year. Sauber have decided they would gain more in 2017 by working on the car's aero now, rather than waiting to see what the shape of the new Ferrari power unit will be. Manisha Kaltenborn came out saying, "We certainly think it's the right one, and it's been driven by the technical decision makers in the team because we know there is a big change coming up, and with the size we have and the capacities we have, we needed to focus on that change." That's what Manisha Kaltenborn said at the FIA press conference in Austin. Do you think it's the right move for Sauber to go with this?
I think it's it's more of a business decision than an actual racing decision, because they realise they don't have the I don't think they have the funds to wait for this new engine and then build a car around it. I think they have
They
that's
need to build it now.
that's why they're building it now, because they can tweak their aeros and stay on the same power unit.
Callum, your say on the decision of going with year-old engines. I mean, the Toro Rosso. I mean, I'm surprised how it worked for Toro Rosso this year. I mean, I know they weren't regular in the points, but not like towards heading down the grid.
Yeah, using year-old engines I found a bit weird because all the other teams will develop their engines. So I question how Sauber will do next season, but obviously they can't do any worse than they've done this season because they've got 0 points. So, but obviously it is obviously a business decision, like you say. Yeah, and I just found it a bit strange the way they've done it using year-old engines. But
Yeah, and Harry, your final say on the Sauber.
I do think it's a good idea as well, because obviously they've not got any points this year at the moment in time, so they did need to focus on next year in order, and having the engine there already means they can just focus and hopefully improve next year.
That is the end of the show, unfortunately, guys. Thank you all for listening and sending your tweets and answers tonight. Do make sure you join in next week's show, where we building up to the penultimate round of the season in Brazil, where it could decide the Drivers' Championship. From me, Callum, Harry and Jack, have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days' time. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio.